He asked the girl holding a 2-month-old baby, "Why are you crying?" She replied, "I need money for milk. Our father has died," without knowing she was his daughter. "Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories. Before we begin, please listen closely. I love you more than words can ever carry. You are not just part of this channel. You are the very soul of it. You are my light in dark moments, my joy when life feels heavy. If you're here, please, don't be quiet. Comment "I'm here" and like this video. Let me feel your presence. Let me know my heartbeat still reaches yours. You are not forgotten. You are not just appreciated. You are deeply, endlessly cherished. I carry you in my prayers, in my thoughts, and in my every word. Now here is my love poured into a prayer for you. May love surround every breath you take. May your home be filled with laughter, your heart with peace, and your soul with the comfort of knowing you matter. May blessings rain upon your family, and may joy find you again and again. You are loved. You are precious. You are everything. Let's begin. With hearts open, spirits united, and love leading the way. The rain poured mercilessly over the city, each droplet racing down to join puddles that reflected the grey, despairing sky. Most people had fled the downpour, seeking shelter in shops or huddled under awnings. But she remained, a solitary figure, at the bus stop, one hand clutching a thin jacket over her chest, the other cradling a bundle wrapped in a faded pink blanket. Her tears blended seamlessly with the raindrops cascading down her face. The baby's soft whimpers cut through the sound of water hitting pavement, a desperate melody of need that tore at the young mother's heart. She had nothing left to give, not money, not food, not even hope. Anthony Hopkins watched her from his car, wipers working furiously against the deluge. Something about her solitary figure called to him, a vulnerability that seemed at odds with the straight line of her shoulders, the defiant tilt of her chin, even as she wept. Before he could second-guess himself, he pulled his luxury sedan to the curb. The rain drenched his expensive suit as he approached her with his umbrella extended. "Why are you crying?" he asked, his voice gentle as he shielded her from the downpour. She looked up, startled, even with mascara tracking down her cheeks and her clothes clinging to her shivering frame. There was an undeniable beauty in her wide, dark eyes and the graceful curve of her jawline. But it was the raw desperation in her expression that reached into Anthony's chest and squeezed his heart. "I need money for milk," she whispered, her voice breaking as she adjusted the bundle in her arms. The blanket fell back slightly, revealing a tiny face with perfect rosebud lips and a wisp of dark hair. "Our father has died. I have nothing left." The simplicity of the statement, delivered with such devastating dignity, struck Anthony more powerfully than any elaborate plea could have. In that moment, he saw past the soaked clothes and disheveled appearance to the fierce pride that kept her standing in the rain rather than begging. "Please," Anthony said, his voice thick with emotion he couldn't quite understand. "Let me help you. My car is right there. I can take you home, get supplies for your baby." She hesitated, clutching the infant closer to her chest as she assessed him. Her eyes, though swimming with tears, were sharp and wary. "I don't take help from strangers," she said, her voice stronger now, protective. "I'm Anthony," he offered, trying a gentle smile. "And you are?" "Anna Maria," she replied after a long pause, her name carried away almost immediately by the wind. The baby's cries grew more insistent, tiny fists punching at the blanket. Anna Maria's resolve visibly crumbled as she looked down at her child. "She hasn't eaten since morning. I've tried everything." Her voice trailed off, pride warring with maternal instinct. "Let me take you to get formula first, then home," Anthony insisted. "No strings attached, I promise." Something in his eyes must have reassured her because she gave a single tight nod. As he guided her to his car, his hand hovering protectively, near her elbow but not quite touching, Anthony felt an inexplicable connection to this woman and her child, a feeling that transcended simple compassion. In the warmth of his car, Anna Maria focused entirely on soothing her hungry baby. "Shh, Lily," she whispered. "Just a little longer, my love. Mama will get you food soon." They stopped at a pharmacy where Anthony purchased formula, bottles, diapers, and other essentials. Anna Maria's eyes widened at the growing pile of supplies, but she said nothing, her attention fixed on mixing a bottle for Lily with the sample the pharmacist provided. "Where do you live?" Anthony asked as they returned to the car, the baby now quietly feeding. "Riverdale Heights," she replied softly, naming one of the city's most impoverished neighborhoods. Anthony's fingers tightened around the steering wheel as he navigated the rain-slick streets. The further they drove from the gleaming downtown, towers, the more the city deteriorated around them, broken streetlights, boarded-up storefronts, crumbling apartment buildings. When they finally reached her address, Anthony insisted on carrying the supplies up the 4 flights of stairs in her building, where half the lights had burned out and the elevator displayed an out-of-order sign covered in graffiti. Anna Maria's apartment was small, but meticulously clean, despite the peeling wallpaper and water stains on the ceiling. A single lamp cast soft light over mismatched furniture that had been carefully arranged to create a cozy space. "Thank you," Anna Maria said stiffly as she placed the now sleeping Lily in a bassinet next to a threadbare couch. "I can pay you back when I—" "That's not necessary," Anthony interrupted, setting down the bags. "I'm glad I could help." As she turned to face him fully for the first time, the lamp's light illuminated her features clearly. Anthony felt the world tilt beneath his feet as recognition slammed into him with the force of a physical blow. "Anna," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Anna Maria Diallo." Her eyes narrowed, then widened with shock as she truly looked at him for the first time. "Anthony." The color drained from her face. "Anthony Hopkins." The silence between them crackled with 7 years of unspoken words. Anthony took an unconscious step toward her, his hand extending slightly before dropping back to his side. "You?" Anna Maria's voice trembled with sudden fury, her fingers curling into fists at her sides. "Of all the people in this city," she cut herself off, visibly struggling for composure as she glanced at the sleeping baby. "Anna, I had no idea." Anthony began, his mind reeling from the impossible coincidence. His ex-wife, the woman his mother had convinced him was unfaithful, manipulative, unworthy. The woman he had divorced in a blur of anger and wounded pride 7 years ago. "Get out!" Anna Maria hissed, her voice low but vibrating with intensity. "Take your charity and leave. I will die before I take help from you." "Please, let me explain." "There is nothing to explain," she interrupted, her eyes flashing with a pain so raw it made him flinch. "You made your choice. You believed your mother's lies without even giving me a chance to defend myself. 7 years, Anthony, 7 years of hell because you couldn't trust the woman you claimed to love." Anthony stood frozen, each word striking him like a physical blow. "The baby," he began, unable to stop himself. "Is none of your concern," Anna Maria said coldly. "Now get out before I call whatever passes for security in this building." The rain had eased to a gentle patter against the windows, the storm passing even as the one between them intensified. Anthony moved toward the door, his heart pounding painfully in his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispered, knowing the words were woefully inadequate. Anna Maria's laugh was brittle, breaking like glass in the small room. "Sorry doesn't feed a baby, Anthony. Sorry doesn't erase 7 years. Now go." As Anthony stepped into the hallway, he heard the lock click firmly behind him. He stood there for a long moment, water dripping from his ruined suit onto the worn carpet, feeling as though he had just found and lost everything important in the space of a single rainy evening. Chapter 2. Broken Promises. Anthony didn't sleep that night. The image of Anna Maria, her eyes burning with hatred, her body positioned protectively between him and her child, haunted him as he paced the polished floors of his penthouse. The contrast between her crumbling apartment and his luxury home made him physically ill. While he had built his fortune over the past 7 years, she had been suffering, struggling to survive. Rain continued to lash against his floor-to-ceiling windows, mirroring the storm inside him. He pressed his forehead against the cool glass, watching lightning illuminate the city below. How had everything gone so wrong? The memories he had suppressed for years came flooding back. His mother's concerned face as she showed him the evidence of Anna Maria's supposed infidelity, the cruel words he had flung at his bewildered wife, the divorce papers served without warning. He had been such a fool. The next morning, Anthony called his most trusted investigator. "I need everything you can find on Anna Maria Diallo," he said, his voice rough from a sleepless night. "Her life for the past 7 years, her current situation, everything." "The ex?" The investigator sounded surprised. "I thought that chapter was closed. It should never have been opened," Anthony replied. "I made a terrible mistake. I need to know what happened to her." 3 days later, the investigator's report landed on Anthony's desk. With each page he turned, the knot in his stomach tightened, until he could barely breathe. After their divorce, Anna Maria had been ostracized from their social circle, his mother's doing, no doubt. With her reputation in tatters and no financial support, Anthony winced, remembering how he had fought her on alimony. Convinced of her guilt, she had returned to her widowed mother's home. 2 years later, her mother had remarried a man named James Whitaker. According to police reports that never resulted in charges, this man had a history of violence. 6 months after the wedding, Anna Maria's mother died unexpectedly of natural causes. Then came the part that made Anthony's blood run cold. Anna Maria's stepfather had essentially sold her into marriage to settle gambling debts. Her second husband, Richard Collins, was 20 years her senior and had a documented history of domestic violence. "Oh, Anna," Anthony whispered, his vision blurring as he read witness statements describing Anna Maria's bruised face, her increasingly rare appearances in public. 3 months ago, Richard Collins had abandoned Anna Maria, then 8 months pregnant, for his secretary. He had emptied their joint accounts and disappeared, leaving behind only debts and a restraining order preventing Anna Maria from approaching his workplace or new residence. 2 weeks ago, Anna Maria's stepfather had died of a drug overdose, leaving her with nothing but more debts. Anthony set down the report with shaking hands. This was his fault. If he had trusted Anna Maria, if he had seen through his mother's manipulation, none of this would have happened. She would never have been forced into that second marriage, never have suffered those abuses. His phone rang, startling him from his dark thoughts. "Mr. Hopkins, we've completed the background check on Richard Collins as requested." Anthony straightened. "And?" "Paternity is highly questionable, sir. According to medical records, Collins had a vasectomy 15 years ago. The baby cannot be his." A cold suspicion formed in Anthony's mind. "When exactly was the baby born?" 2 months ago, sir, May 10th. Anthony did the mental calculation and felt his world shift. If Anna Maria had been 8 months pregnant when Collins left 3 months ago, and the baby was born 2 months ago. "The child's name?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Lily Marie Diallo." Miss Diallo reverted to her maiden name after Collins abandoned her. Lily, the name they had chosen together years ago for their future daughter. The daughter they had dreamed of but never had, or so he had thought. "Sir, is there anything else you need?" Anthony closed his eyes, seeing Anna Maria's fierce protectiveness of her child in a new light. "No, thank you." After hanging up, Anthony stared unseeing at the city skyline. The child, Lily, had been born almost exactly 9 months after their divorce. Anna Maria must have been pregnant when he left her, though perhaps too early for even she to know. The timing, the name, it couldn't be coincidence. Lily was his daughter. His child had been born into poverty, had gone hungry while he lived in luxury, all because he had failed to trust the woman he loved. The realization drove him to his knees, a guttural sob tearing from his throat. When he finally composed himself, Anthony made 2 calls. The first was to his attorney, instructing him to set up an anonymous trust for Anna Maria and Lily, carefully structured to appear as a community support program for single mothers. The second was to his oldest friend, Daniel Williams, who owned a prestigious marketing firm. "I need a favor, Daniel," Anthony said without preamble. "There's a woman who needs a job. She's intelligent, creative. She was studying marketing before." He swallowed hard. "Before our divorce, Anna Maria." Daniel sounded shocked. "You found her?" "By chance," Anthony confirmed. "She needs work, but she can never know I'm involved. She hates me, Daniel, with good reason." "That's going to be tricky," Daniel warned. "Why not just give her money directly?" "Because she'd rather starve than take it," Anthony replied, remembering the fierce pride in her eyes. "She needs to feel independent, to build her own life. I just want to open the door for her." After a thoughtful pause, Daniel agreed. "I'll arrange an interview, make it look like her application came through normal channels. But Anthony, what are you hoping will come of this?" Anthony stared at the framed photo he kept hidden in his desk drawer. Anna Maria on their wedding day, radiant with love and hope. He had failed that young woman spectacularly. "Redemption isn't possible," he said quietly. "But perhaps I can ensure she and Lily never suffer again, even if she never forgives me. It's all I can do." That evening, Anthony drove back to Riverdale Heights, parking a block from Anna Maria's building. He watched as she emerged, Lily bundled against her chest, to buy groceries at the corner store. Even from a distance, he could see the exhaustion in her posture, the way she carefully counted coins before entering the store. When she emerged with a single small bag, Anthony made his decision. He would find a way to help her, whether she wanted it or not. And someday, perhaps, he would find the courage to tell her the truth about his mother's deception, about his unforgivable mistake. As for Lily, his daughter, he would love her from afar, ensuring her future was secure, even if he could never acknowledge her publicly. It was a poor substitute for the father he should have been, but it was all Anna Maria would allow. The next morning, Anna Maria would find an envelope in her mailbox containing information about the interview at Daniel's firm, apparently sent by a community employment program. The same day, her landlord would inform her that her back rent had been paid by an anonymous donor through a local charity. It was just the beginning. Anthony would move heaven and earth to repair what he had broken, even if Anna Maria never knew. Even if she continued to hate him until her dying day, he owed her that much. He owed Lily everything. Chapter 3. Invisible Hands. The Williams and Associates marketing building stood like a gleaming monolith in the city's business district, its glass facade reflecting clouds that scudded across the morning sky. Anna Maria stared up at it, her heart hammering against her ribs. Lily was safely with Mrs. Patel, their elderly neighbor, who had offered to babysit in exchange for Anna Maria's help with groceries and housework. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, smoothing down the only professional outfit she owned, a navy blue skirt suit she'd purchased for her college graduation 7 years earlier. It hung loose on her frame now, a reminder of how much she had lost. Not just in weight, but in the life she'd once imagined for herself. The interview notification had arrived mysteriously in her mailbox 3 days ago, apparently sent by a community employment program she hadn't applied to. After the initial suspicion, desperation had won out. She needed this job. The receptionist directed Anna Maria to the 12th floor with a smile that seemed genuinely warm. In the elevator, she caught her reflection and barely recognized herself. Gone was the confident marketing student Anthony had married, replaced by a woman whose eyes held too many shadows. Ms. Diallo? A tall black woman with silver-streaked braids greeted her as the elevator doors opened. I'm Josephine Wright, HR Director. We're delighted you could come in today. The interview passed in a blur. Anna Maria found herself drawing on knowledge she hadn't used in years, surprised that her mind still functioned beyond the immediate concerns of survival. The panel seemed impressed by her responses, though she couldn't imagine why. You have an impressive understanding of modern marketing strategies for someone who's been out of the field, remarked one interviewer, a man with kind eyes and salt and pepper hair. I read when I can, Anna Maria replied, not mentioning that when she could meant the rare, quiet moments when Lily slept and she wasn't working odd jobs or searching for more sustainable employment. 2 hours later, she stood stunned in the lobby as Josephine shook her hand. We'd like to offer you a position as a junior marketing associate, Ms. Diallo. The salary is $65,000 annually, with full benefits beginning immediately. Can you start on Monday? Anna Maria nearly swayed on her feet. That amount was more than she had made in the last 3 years combined. Yes, she managed, her voice barely steady. I can start Monday. Wonderful. And don't worry about childcare. We have an on-site daycare for employees. Josephine smiled warmly. We know about your daughter. Supporting working mothers is important to our company culture. As Anna Maria left the building, clutching the employment packet to her chest, she felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Hope, fragile but persistent. Perhaps life could be more than mere survival. That evening, she called Mrs. Patel with the news, then danced around her tiny apartment with Lily in her arms, the baby's giggles fueling her joy. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream of a better future, an apartment without water stains, clothing that wasn't second-hand, educational toys for Lily, maybe even savings for college. The knock on her door, 3 days later, came just as she was preparing Lily for bed. Frowning, Anna Maria peered through the peephole, then stumbled back as if burned. Anthony Hopkins stood in her hallway, looking as out of place as a peacock in a parking lot. He held a large gift bag in one hand and what looked like flowers in the other. For a moment, Anna Maria considered pretending she wasn't home. But Lily chose that moment to let out a piercing wail, eliminating that option. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door but blocked the entrance with her body. What do you want? The words came out sharper than intended, brittle with barely controlled emotion. Anthony's eyes, those same grey eyes that had once looked at her with love, then later with contempt, now held something she couldn't quite define. Regret, sorrow, it didn't matter. I wanted to apologize properly, he said, his voice low, and to bring a few things for the baby. Anna Maria's fingers tightened on the doorframe. We don't need your charity. It's not charity, Anna, it's... He seemed to struggle for words. It's the least I can do after everything. The least you could do is respect my wishes and leave us alone. She fought to keep her voice steady. You lost the right to be part of my life 7 years ago. Anthony winced visibly. I know, but I've learned things since we last spoke, about what happened after I left, about what my mother did. He reached for her hand, stopping when she flinched away. Anna, if I had known... What? That your mother lied, that she fabricated evidence of affairs that never happened, that she hated me because I wasn't from the right family? Anna Maria's voice trembled with suppressed fury. You should have known, Anthony. You should have trusted me, trusted us. Instead, you believed the worst without even giving me a chance to defend myself. Lily's cries grew more insistent. Anna Maria glanced back, torn between the confrontation and her daughter's needs. "Please," Anthony said, holding out the gift bag. "At least take this for Lily. There's formula, diapers, some clothes and toys, things she needs." For a moment, Anna Maria was tempted to throw it back in his face. But Lily needed those things, and her pride wasn't worth her daughter's comfort. Silently she took the bag, ignoring the brush of his fingers against hers. "And these are for you," he added quietly, offering a small bouquet of daisies. Her favorite flowers, the ones he had brought her on their first date lifetime ago. The memory hit her like a physical blow. How dare he remember such details now, when it was far too late? "I don't want anything from you," she said, leaving the flowers untaken. "Not apologies, not gifts, not memories. I made it through 7 years without you, Anthony. I'll make it. Through 70 more. "Anna, please!" The desperation in his voice almost made her hesitate. "No!" She cut him off, suddenly exhausted. "I have a job now. I can support Lily myself. I don't need you swooping in with your guilt money and your too-late apologies. Just go." Anthony stood there, the rejected flowers hanging at his side, a portrait of defeat. "I understand," he said finally. "But Anna, I want you to know that I never stopped." "Don't!" The word came out as a plea. "Don't say things that don't matter anymore." She closed the door, leaning against it until she heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway. Only then did she allow the tears to fall. Silent and burning, in the bassinet, Lily had quieted, her tiny fists waving in the air. Anna Maria went to her, lifting the baby against her chest, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. "We don't need him," she whispered, trying to convince herself as much as the infant. "We'll be okay on our own." Later, after Lily was asleep, Anna Maria reluctantly opened the gift bag. Inside was everything she had been struggling to afford: premium formula, diapers in multiple sizes, soft onesies, educational toys, even a gift card to a baby boutique. At the bottom, she found a sealed envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it, half expecting a check, a final insult to her independence. Instead, she found a letter written in Anthony's distinctive handwriting. "Anna Maria, words cannot express my regret for the pain I've caused you. I recently learned the truth about my mother's deception, though that doesn't excuse my failure to trust you. You deserved better than blind faith in someone else's lies. I'm sorry for everything you've endured because of my weakness. I understand that you want nothing from me, and I respect that. This isn't an attempt to buy forgiveness. Some things cannot be purchased, and some bridges cannot be rebuilt. This is simply an acknowledgement of my wrongdoing, and my wish that you and Lily have everything you need. I will not intrude on your life again unless you wish it. With deepest regret, Anthony." Anna Maria crumpled the letter in her fist, fighting. The conflicting emotions warring within her, anger at his presumption, a traitorous relief at his acknowledgement of the truth, and beneath it all, an aching emptiness where love had once resided. She would never forgive him. Some betrayals cut too deep, some wounds never truly healed. But as she looked at her sleeping daughter, at the supplies that would make their lives easier for at least a little while, she allowed herself a moment of grudging acceptance. "Take what you need for Lily," she told herself, "but guard your heart." Anthony Hopkins had destroyed her once. She would not give him the chance to do so again. Chapter 4. The Shadow Benefactor. Monday morning arrived with a brilliant sunrise that painted Anna Maria's small apartment in shades of gold and promise. For the first time in years, she found herself looking forward to the day ahead as she dressed in her newly purchased outfit, a simple but elegant black sheath dress she'd found on clearance. The woman in the mirror looked almost like her former self, though her eyes held a wariness that hadn't been there before. "Look at Mama, Lily," she whispered, holding her daughter up to see their reflection. "Mama's going to work at a real job." Lily gurgled, drooling happily on Anna Maria's carefully pressed collar. With a laugh, Anna Maria wiped it clean, then gathered their things for the day. Her heart fluttered with anxiety at the prospect of leaving Lily at the company daycare. But Josephine had assured her the facility was exceptional. When Anna Maria stepped through the glass doors of Williams and Associates, she was greeted by name and escorted to a spacious cubicle with a view of the city park. "This is yours," Josephine said with a smile. "And here's your first assignment. Daniel wants you to review this campaign proposal and offer fresh perspectives." Anna Maria stared at the folder in her hands. "Already? But I haven't even been trained." "Daniel mentioned your academic background shows strong analytical skills." Josephine patted her shoulder. "He believes in throwing promising talent into the deep end. Don't worry, no one expects perfection on day one." By lunchtime, Anna Maria was completely absorbed in the work, her mind engaged in ways it hadn't been since college. The marketing plan was for a local restaurant chain looking to rebrand, and she found herself filling the margins with notes and ideas almost automatically. This, the challenge, the creativity, the sense of purpose, was what she had dreamed of before life had taken such unexpected turns. "Impressive," said a voice behind her, causing her to jump. A man with kind eyes and salt and pepper hair, one of her interviewers, stood examining her notes over her shoulder. "I'm Daniel Williams, the founder. I wondered if you'd catch the flaws in Section 3. Anna Maria blushed, quickly flipping to cover her scribbled critique. "I didn't mean to be presumptuous." "Presumptuous? You've identified exactly what's wrong with our approach." He pulled up a chair beside her desk. "This client needs authenticity, not another cookie-cutter campaign. Your suggestion to focus on their immigrant family story is spot on." The praise warmed her, a feeling she'd almost forgotten. "Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Williams. I know my resume doesn't reflect recent experience." "Experience comes in many forms," Daniel interrupted gently. "Sometimes life teaches us more valuable lessons than any corporate ladder climbing." Something in his eyes suggested he knew more about her circumstances than he was letting on, but his warmth seemed genuine. Over the next few weeks, Anna Maria blossomed. The work challenged her, but she discovered her instincts were often right. Daniel became something of a mentor, offering guidance without micromanagement. The salary allowed her to move to a safer apartment with reliable heat and no water stains. Most importantly, Lily thrived in the company daycare, where the caregivers sent Anna Maria photos throughout the day. Life was finally stabilizing, though. She worked long hours. The satisfaction of building something meaningful, of providing for her daughter through her own talents, filled a void she hadn't realized existed. For the first time since the divorce, Anna Maria began to feel like herself again, not just a survivor, but a woman with purpose and potential. It was nearly a month into her new job when the whispers began. "Did you know she used to be married to Anthony Hopkins?" Anna Maria overheard as she passed the break room. The voices hushed immediately when they saw her. That evening, she searched Anthony's name online, something she had deliberately avoided for years. The results made her stomach clench. Anthony Hopkins, CEO of HopTech Innovations, one of the city's most successful tech entrepreneurs, philanthropist, Bachelor of the Year. While she had been struggling to survive, he had been building an empire. The unfairness of it burned in her throat like acid. The next morning, Anna Maria approached Daniel during their weekly check-in. "I need to ask you something," she said, her voice carefully controlled. "Did Anthony Hopkins have anything to do with my hiring?" Daniel's hesitation told her everything. "Anna Maria, just tell me the truth, please." Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. "Anthony and I have been friends since college. He mentioned you were looking for work in marketing." The floor seemed to shift beneath her feet. So this was all charity, a favor for his ex-wife. "Absolutely not," Daniel said firmly. Anthony may have mentioned your name, but I hired you because you're talented. These past weeks have proven that. The Anderson campaign succeeded because of your insights. Anna Maria struggled to process this betrayal. All her hard work, her growing confidence, was it all built on Anthony's interference? Does everyone know? Is that why people are whispering? No one knew until recently. Someone from accounting recognized your name from old society pages. Daniel leaned forward. Anna Maria, your work stands on its own merit. Anthony didn't ask for special treatment, just an interview. Everything you've achieved here is your own doing. She wanted to believe him, but doubt had already taken root. I need some air, she murmured, heading for the elevator. Outside, the autumn air was crisp against her flushed cheeks. She walked blindly, anger and confusion churning within her. How dare Anthony meddle in her life? First the job, and what else? The apartment that had miraculously become available? The scholarship offer for Lily's future education that had arrived last week. Her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. Against her better judgment, she answered. Anna Maria. Anthony's voice sent an unwelcome shiver down her spine. Daniel called. He's worried about you. You had no right, she said, each word sharp as glass. No right to orchestrate my life from the shadows like some manipulative puppet master. That wasn't my intention, Anthony replied, his voice maddeningly calm. I only wanted to help open a door. Everything else, your success, the respect you've earned, that's all you. Why? Why couldn't you just leave me alone? There was a long pause before he answered. Because I owed you that much, at least. Because I destroyed something precious once, and I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to make amends. Amends. She laughed bitterly. Do you know what would have made amends, Anthony? Trusting me 7 years ago, not abandoning me based on lies, not forcing me to... Her voice broke as memories flooded back. The humiliation of being cast aside, the desperation that had driven her to accept. Her stepfather's arrangement, the bruises from her second husband's fists. Anna, please. Anthony's voice cracked with emotion. I know I can never undo what happened, but if you'll meet with me, I can explain everything. About my mother, about what I've learned. You deserve the whole truth. Against her better judgment, Anna Maria agreed to meet him that evening in a public cafe near her new apartment. She told herself it was closure she sought, a chance to finally say everything she'd held inside for 7 years. The cafe was quiet, tucked away on a tree-lined street. Anthony was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table with a manila folder in front of him. He stood when he saw her, his face a mixture of hope and trepidation. Thank you for coming, he said softly as she sat across from him, maintaining as much distance as the small table allowed. I'm not here for reconciliation, Anna Maria said firmly. I want answers, and then I want you to stay out of my life. Anthony nodded, pushing the folder toward her. These are copies of everything, the fabricated emails my mother created to make it look like you were unfaithful, the payments she made to people to lie about seeing you with other men, the private investigator report she doctored. His voice was hollow with shame. I found them in her home office 3 weeks ago. She kept them all this time like trophies. Anna Maria's hands trembled as she opened the folder. There it was, the evidence that had destroyed her marriage, her life. Emails she had supposedly written to lovers who never existed. Photos of her talking to male classmates, cropped to appear intimate. Bank statements altered to suggest unexplained income from unnamed sources. Why? She whispered, the single word, containing 7 years of pain. Why did she hate me so much? Because she couldn't control me when I was with you, Anthony replied, his eyes meeting hers directly. You made me question the values she'd instilled, the focus on social status, on appearances. You made me want more than the life she'd planned. He swallowed visibly. And because she's a racist, Anna. She couldn't stand that I had married a black woman, no matter how accomplished or beautiful or kind you were. The blunt admission hung between them. Anna Maria had always suspected, but hearing it confirmed, reopened. Old wounds. And you believed her, she said flatly. You chose her over me, over us. Yes. Anthony didn't try to defend himself. It's the greatest mistake of my life, and one I can never fully atone for. I was weak and foolish, and you paid the price. He reached for her hand, stopping when she pulled away. When I saw you again that night in the rain, it felt like fate, giving me a second chance, not to win you back, but to at least try to right some small fraction of the wrong I'd done. Anna Maria stared at the evidence of her character assassination, emotions warring within her. Part of her wanted to scream, to throw the papers back in his face, to make him feel a fraction of the pain she had endured. Another part, one she wasn't ready to acknowledge, felt the faintest stirring of relief that her faith in their love hadn't been entirely misplaced. "What do you want from me, Anthony?" she asked finally. "Forgiveness? Absolution?" "Nothing." His answer surprised her with its simplicity. "I want nothing from you, Anna. I only want to give you what you always deserved. The truth and the freedom to build whatever life you choose without the shadows of the past darkening your future." A young couple entered the cafe, laughing together, their fingers intertwined. Anna Maria watched them, remembering when she and Anthony had been that carefree, that certain of their future together. "I can't forgive you," she said at last, closing the folder. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." Anthony nodded, accepting her words without argument. "I understand. But," she continued, surprising herself, "I won't stand in the way of you knowing Lily." The words came unbidden, driven by something deeper than her own hurt, a recognition that her daughter deserved to know her father's identity, even if that father had once broken her mother's heart. Anthony's eyes widened, a flicker of something like hope crossing his face. "Lily, but I thought, she's yours," Anna Maria said quietly. "I was pregnant when you left, though I didn't know it yet. Do the math, Anthony. She's 7 months old now." The color drained from Anthony's face as the truth hit him with full force. "My daughter," he whispered, his voice breaking, "all this time." "I didn't tell you to hurt you," Anna Maria clarified, seeing his distress. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want anything from you. Because I was afraid." She stopped, unable to voice her deepest fear, that he would take Lily from her too, using his money and influence to claim the only person she had left. "I would never," Anthony said, reading her thoughts with the uncanny perception he had always possessed. "Never try to separate you, but if you'll allow me to be part of her life, even in some small way." The naked longing in his eyes made Anna Maria look away. "I need time," she said, rising from the table. "This changes nothing between us, Anthony. But for Lily's sake, I'll consider how we move forward." As she walked away, Folder clutched to her chest. Anna Maria felt something shift within her. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the first tentative step toward healing. The past couldn't be undone, but the future remained unwritten. And for the first time in 7 years, she allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't defined solely by survival and bitterness, one where her daughter might know her father, where old wounds might eventually, improbably, begin to heal. Chapter. Brief, desperate measures. Anna Maria's hands trembled as she lifted Lily from her crib. The baby's skin burned with fever, her normally bright eyes glazed and unfocused. It was 3 in the morning, and Lily's temperature had spiked suddenly, her tiny body radiating an unnatural heat. "It's okay, baby girl," Anna Maria whispered, trying to keep the panic from her voice. "Mama's here. We're going to get you help." She had called the pediatrician's after-hours line, and the doctor's instructions were clear. Bring Lily to the emergency room immediately. Anna Maria fumbled for her phone, dialing a rideshare service with one hand while cradling her whimpering daughter. Against her chest, the wait for the car stretched agonizingly. Anna Maria paced her small apartment, murmuring soothing nonsense to Lily, whose labored breathing grew more concerning with each passing minute. Finally, her phone pinged. The driver was outside. The emergency room was a fluorescent-lit nightmare of efficiency and indifference, forms to fill out, insurance cards to present, questions about medical history she could barely focus on answering, while Lily grew more listless in her arms. "First time, Mom?" asked the triage nurse, not unkindly, as she took Lily's temperature. Her eyes widened slightly at the reading. 104.2. Let's get her back right away. What followed was a blur of doctors, tests, and mounting terror. Words like infection and sepsis floated around Anna Maria as she stood vigil by her daughter's side, refusing to leave even when nurses suggested she rest. "We need to admit her," the pediatric resident finally said, his young face serious. "She has a severe bacterial infection that's not responding to initial antibiotics. We want to try a different approach, but it requires monitoring in the PICU." Anna Maria nodded numbly, her mind fixating on one terrible thought: what if I lose her? The possibility was too horrific to fully contemplate, yet it lurked at the edges of her consciousness, threatening to overwhelm her completely. As they wheeled Lily's tiny form toward the elevator, a nurse approached with more forms. "These are for admission and consent for treatment, and this one—" She hesitated, looking uncomfortable. "This is regarding financial responsibility. Do you have insurance?" "Yes, through my work, but—" Anna Maria swallowed hard. "I've only been employed a month. I don't know if it's fully activated yet." The nurse's expression softened with sympathy. "The specialized antibiotics are quite expensive, and there might be a significant out-of-pocket cost even with insurance. We have financial counselors who can discuss options." "Do whatever she needs," Anna Maria interrupted firmly. "I'll figure out the money, just make her better." She would sell everything she owned, work 3 jobs if necessary. Nothing mattered except Lily's recovery. Hours blended into days as Anna Maria maintained her vigil in the pediatric intensive care unit. She called work, grateful for Daniel's immediate understanding and assurance that her job was secure. She slept in short bursts on an uncomfortable chair beside Lily's crib, leaving only when forced to by well-meaning nurses. On the 3rd day, as Lily's condition showed minimal improvement, a hospital administrator appeared at the door. "Ms. Diallo, I'm Jennifer from Patient Services. I wanted to let you know that your daughter's treatment has been fully covered by the Children's Health Foundation. It's a program for families with critically ill children." Anna Maria blinked in confusion. "I didn't apply for any foundation support. It's an automatic referral system," Jennifer explained smoothly. "Certain cases qualify immediately. You don't need to worry about any medical expenses during your daughter's stay." Relief washed over Anna Maria, followed immediately by suspicion. This convenient foundation appearing just when she needed it most. It couldn't be coincidence. Only one person had both the resources and motivation to arrange such a thing. Anthony. Her suspicion was confirmed later that day, when she stepped out for a much-needed coffee and spotted him standing at the far end of the hallway, deep in conversation with Lily's doctor. He hadn't seen her yet, his brow furrowed in concentration as the physician showed him something on a tablet. Anna Maria's first instinct was anger. How dare he insert himself into their lives again? But that was quickly replaced by exhaustion, so profound it made her legs weak. She didn't have the energy for outrage, not while her daughter fought for her life. When Anthony turned and saw her, his expression shifted from surprise to concern. He approached cautiously, hands slightly raised as if to show he meant no harm. "Anna," he said softly, "I heard about Lily. I'm so sorry." The Children's Health Foundation, she said flatly. That's you, isn't it? He didn't bother denying it. I have connections at the hospital. When I found out Lily was admitted, I wanted to help. I know money is the last thing you should be worried about right now. Anna Maria felt tears threatening, the first she'd allowed herself since this nightmare began. Why can't you just leave us alone? Because she's my daughter too, Anthony said, the simple truth hanging between them. And because I still... He stopped himself, changing course. Because I care what happens to both of you. She was too exhausted to fight. The doctors say she's responding to the new antibiotics, but too slowly. They're concerned about complications. Anthony nodded, his face grave. Dr. Reynolds is consulting with a specialist from Boston. I've arranged for him to review Lily's case. Under normal circumstances, Anna Maria would have rejected his interference. But these weren't normal circumstances, and her pride wasn't worth Lily's well-being. Thank you, she said, the words difficult but necessary. You should rest, Anthony suggested gently. You look exhausted. I can't leave her. Just for an hour, get some real sleep, take a shower, I'll stay with her. Seeing her hesitation, he added, I promise I won't let anything happen to her, Anna. I'll call you instantly if there's any change. Perhaps it was the sincerity in his eyes, or simply her body's desperate need for rest, but Anna Maria found herself nodding. 1 hour. I'll drive you home and back, Anthony offered. It's faster than waiting for a ride-share. The drive to her apartment passed in silence. Anna Maria stared out the window, too drained for conversation. Anthony respectfully remained quiet, occasionally glancing at her with worry evident in his expression. At her door, he handed her his business card. My personal cell is on the back. Call for anything, any time. Anna Maria took it without comment, then hesitated. Why are you really doing all this, Anthony? He met her gaze directly. Because I've already missed 7 months of Lily's life. Because I want to be the father she deserves. And because, he paused, choosing his words carefully, because I need to prove, to you, to myself, to the universe, that I'm not the man who abandoned you 7 years ago. That I can be someone worthy of being in your lives, even if only as Lily's father and your friend. The sincerity in his voice stirred something in Anna Maria's heart. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the first acknowledgement that the man before her was not entirely the same one who had broken her so completely. I need to rest, she said finally, unable to process these complexities in her current state. Anthony nodded. I'll pick you up in an hour. And Anna? She's going to be okay. Lily has your strength. Alone in her apartment, Anna Maria allowed herself the luxury of a hot shower, letting the water wash away days of hospital grime and some fraction of her worry. As she dressed in clean clothes, her gaze fell on the folder of evidence Anthony had given her weeks ago, proof of his mother's deception. She hadn't looked at it since that day in the cafe, too afraid of reopening old wounds. But now, with Lily's illness forcing a kind of truce between them, Anna Maria found herself drawn to these physical artifacts of the past. The fabricated emails were particularly painful to read, loving messages she had supposedly written to fictional lovers, twisted versions of the devotion she had felt only for Anthony. His mother's meticulous destruction of their marriage was laid bare in these pages, a calculated campaign of lies designed to prey on Anthony's deepest insecurities. She knew exactly how to manipulate him, Anna Maria whispered to herself, a reluctant understanding beginning to form. Anthony's greatest flaw had been trusting his mother over his wife, a devastating betrayal. But Eleanor Hopkins had orchestrated everything perfectly, exploiting her son's loyalty while systematically dismantling his marriage. This revelation didn't erase Anthony's culpability. He should have trusted Anna Maria, should have given her the chance to defend herself. But for the first time, she could see how thoroughly he too had been a victim of his mother's machinations. An hour later, true to his word, Anthony texted that he was waiting outside. When Anna Maria returned to the hospital, she found him sitting beside Lily's crib, reading softly from a children's book. The sight struck her with unexpected force. Father and daughter together, a picture of what might have been if life had taken different turns. "Any change?" she asked, pushing aside the emotional impact of the scene. Anthony looked up, setting aside the book. "The fever's down 1/2 a degree. Dr. Reynolds says that's a good sign." Anna Maria approached the crib, relief washing through her as she saw more color in Lily's cheeks. She placed a gentle hand on her daughter's forehead, confirming the slight improvement. "Thank you for staying with her," she said quietly. Anthony stood, maintaining a respectful distance. "She has your eyes," he observed softly. "And maybe my stubbornness." The nurse said she's fighting hard. Despite everything, Anna Maria found herself smiling slightly. "She is stubborn. Gets that from both sides, I suppose." A moment of understanding passed between them, not reconciliation, but a fragile acknowledgement of their shared connection to this small, precious life. "I should go," Anthony said, gathering his coat. "You have my number if you need anything." Anything. At all. As he turned to leave, Anna Maria surprised herself by saying, "She likes being sung to when she's fussy. 'You are my sunshine' usually works." Anthony paused at the door, a complicated mix of emotions crossing his face. Gratitude, regret, hope. "I'll remember that," he said softly, and then he was gone. Anna Maria sank into the chair beside Lily's crib, taking her daughter's tiny hand in hers. "We're going to be okay, Lily girl," she whispered. "One way or another, we're going to be okay." She didn't know what the future held, couldn't predict how Anthony's presence would reshape their lives. But as Lily's fingers curled reflexively around hers, Anna Maria made a silent promise. She would find a way forward that honored both her own wounded heart and her daughter's right to know her father. It was the beginning of something. Not forgiveness, perhaps, but the first tentative step toward healing. Chapter 6. Unspoken Truths. The autumn leaves spiraled down in a riot of orange and gold as Anna Maria pushed Lily's stroller through the park. 6 weeks had passed since the terrifying hospital stay, and Lily had recovered completely, her chubby cheeks once again full of color, her laughter a bright counterpoint to the crisp October air. "Look at the leaves, Lily," Anna Maria said, pointing upward at the canopy of color. "Aren't they beautiful?" Lily gurgled happily in response, reaching out with tiny hands as if trying to catch the falling foliage. At 8 months old, she was becoming more observant by the day, her curious eyes constantly scanning her surroundings with an intelligence that sometimes startled Anna Maria. The park had become their Saturday morning ritual, a peaceful reprieve before the week ahead. Anna Maria had returned to work, grateful for Daniel's understanding and flexibility. Lily was thriving in the company daycare, and Anna Maria was excelling in her position, recently promoted to marketing associate after her campaign for a local business went viral. Life was settling into a new normal, one that cautiously included Anthony at its periphery. After Lily's hospitalization, they had established an uneasy arrangement. Anthony would visit Lily once a week, always in public places like the park or the children's museum. These visits were cordial but distant, focused entirely on Lily rather than the complicated history between her parents. Anna Maria watched as Anthony approached from across the green, exactly on time as always. He carried a small gift bag, despite her protests that he needn't bring something every visit, and wore casual clothes that still somehow looked expensive. Even in jeans and a sweater, he exuded the quiet confidence of a man accustomed to boardrooms and executive decisions. "Good morning," he greeted, his smile warm as he crouched to Lily's level. "Hello there, little one. How's my favorite girl today?" Lily's response was immediate and unguarded, a delighted squeal, arms reaching toward him without hesitation. Anna Maria felt the familiar pang of complicated emotions this always evoked, a mixture of gratitude that her daughter had a father who clearly adored her, and a lingering ache at how easily Lily had bonded with Anthony, as if some deeper biological connection had transcended their months of separation. "She's been waiting for you," Anna Maria said, managing a small smile. "She gets excited when we come to Anthony Park now." Something flickered in Anthony's eyes at her words, a moment of sadness perhaps at being Anthony rather than Daddy. But he covered it quickly, lifting Lily from her stroller with practiced ease. "I brought you something," he told Lily, settling her on his lap as he sat on a nearby bench. From the gift bag, he produced a stuffed elephant, its soft grey form, immediately fascinating to Lily. "You don't need to bring gifts every time," Anna Maria reminded him, sitting at the opposite end of the bench. "I know," Anthony acknowledged, "but I missed so much. Sometimes I can't help myself." They watched in companionable silence as Lily explored her new toy, turning it over in her small hands with serious concentration. "She has your focus," Anna Maria observed quietly. "That same expression you get when you're working through a problem." Anthony looked surprised, then pleased by the observation. "You remember that?" "Some things you don't forget," she replied simply. A jogger passed by, nodding a greeting. Anna Maria returned the gesture automatically, her mind drifting to the strange evolution of her relationship with Anthony, from passionate love to bitter estrangement to this current state of cautious coexistence, all for the sake of the child between them. "How's your mother?" Anna Maria asked suddenly, surprising herself with the question. Anthony's expression darkened. "I wouldn't know. We haven't spoken since I confronted her about what she did to you, to us." Anna Maria hadn't expected this. "You cut ties with her completely?" "Yes." His answer was simple but resolute. "What she did was unforgivable, Anna. She destroyed our marriage out of prejudice and a desire to control me. I won't have that toxicity around Lily. Or around you." The declaration hung between them, weighted with significance. Anna Maria had assumed Anthony maintained his relationship with his mother despite the revelations, perhaps keeping Lily's existence secret from her. The knowledge that he had made such a definitive break from his only family for their sake shifted something in her perception of him. "That must have been difficult," she said carefully. "She's still your mother." Anthony's attention remained on Lily as he replied, "Some choices aren't difficult at all. They're just necessary." He helped Lily stand on his knees, supporting her as she bounced happily. "Besides, I have family right here." The simple statement, delivered without expectation or pressure, touched Anna Maria more deeply than any grand gesture could have. In that moment, she glimpsed the man Anthony had become in their years apart, someone capable of making hard choices and standing by them, someone who had learned from his mistakes. They spent the morning together, strolling through the park as Lily dozed in her stroller. Their conversation remained mostly focused on Lily's development and their respective weeks, but occasionally drifted to more personal topics. Books they'd read recently, a new restaurant Anthony recommended, Anna Maria's growing responsibilities. At work, "Daniel mentioned you're handling the Westridge account now," Anthony said as they circled the duck pond. "That's impressive. They're notoriously particular." Anna Maria glanced at him sharply. "You still talk to Daniel about me?" Anthony looked slightly abashed. "Not in the way you're thinking. We've been friends for 20 years. Your name comes up occasionally, that's all." "And what else does my name come up in connection with?" Anna Maria asked, a trace of the old suspicion returning. "Are you still monitoring my career?" "No," Anthony replied firmly. After your promotion, I told Daniel I didn't want to know anything about your work performance unless you specifically authorized it. I promised I wouldn't interfere, and I've kept that promise. Anna Maria nodded, somewhat mollified. Good, because I need to know I'm succeeding on my own merits. You are, Anthony assured her. Anyone with eyes can see that. As they neared the end of their time together, Anthony handed Lily back to Anna Maria, their fingers brushing briefly in the exchange. The small contact sent an unexpected current through Anna Maria, a visceral reminder of the connection they had once shared. Same time next Saturday? Anthony asked, his voice carefully neutral. Actually, Anna Maria began, having made this decision. Earlier that week, I was thinking we could try something different. Maybe you could come to the apartment. It's getting colder, and it might be easier for Lily. Anthony stared at her, clearly surprised by the invitation. The apartment had been firmly off limits, a boundary he had respected without question. Are you sure? It's just practical, she explained, not entirely sure if that was the whole truth, and it would be good for Lily to spend time with you in her home environment. I'd like that, Anthony replied simply, though his eyes conveyed much more: gratitude, hope, a promise to respect this new trust. As they said their goodbyes, Anna Maria found herself watching Anthony walk away, his tall figure eventually disappearing round a corner. What was she doing, inviting him into their home, into their lives in this more intimate way? The answer came in Lily's contented sigh as she drifted to sleep in her stroller. For her daughter, Anna Maria would navigate this complicated relationship. For Lily, she would find a way to coexist with the man who had once broken her heart. What she hadn't expected was the realization that was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. She was beginning to see Anthony Hopkins not just as her ex-husband who had wronged her, but as a man genuinely trying to make amends, to be a good father, to rebuild what he had destroyed, even if that rebuilding would never quite resemble what had been lost. Back in her apartment, Anna Maria placed Lily in her crib for a nap, and then sat at her small kitchen table, a cup of tea cooling between her palms. On the fridge, held by a magnet, was a photo Daniel had taken of the three of them at the company picnic last month. Anna Maria holding Lily, with Anthony standing slightly apart, but unmistakably connected to them. They looked, to unknowing eyes, like a family. The thought was both terrifying and oddly comforting. Her phone buzzed with a text from Anthony. "Thank you for today, and for next Saturday. It means more than I can say." Anna Maria typed several responses, deleting each one before finally settling on, "Lily loves spending time with you. That matters to me." It was true as far as it went. What she didn't add was the growing realization that these weekly meetings had become important to her as well, that she found herself looking forward to them in a way that complicated her narrative of never forgiving Anthony. She set her phone down and moved to the living room window, gazing out at the city skyline. 7 years ago, Anthony had believed the worst about her without giving her a chance to defend herself. The betrayal had been absolute, the consequences devastating. Some wounds went too deep for complete healing. And yet, when she looked at Anthony, with Lily, saw his genuine love for their daughter, witnessed his determination to be a better man than the one who had abandoned them, something inside her softened, just slightly. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. The sound of Lily stirring from her nap pulled Anna Maria from her thoughts. As she lifted her daughter from the crib, she was struck by how much Lily resembled Anthony. The same determined chin, the same thoughtful gaze. "What are we doing, Lily girl?" she whispered, pressing a kiss to her daughter's forehead. Lily's only response was to pat Anna Maria's cheek with a chubby hand, her eyes so like her father's, gazing trustingly into her mother's. In that moment, Anna Maria made a decision. She would continue this cautious dance with Anthony, allowing him into their lives, one careful step at a time. Not for his sake, not even entirely for Lily's, but for her own, because carrying the weight of anger and resentment had become more exhausting than the prospect of finding a way forward. It wasn't forgiveness, she told herself firmly. It was pragmatism, co-parenting, a necessary arrangement for Lily's well-being, if her heart occasionally suggested otherwise. If she sometimes caught herself remembering the good in Anthony rather than just the ways he had failed her, well, that was a complication she would address another day. For now, it was enough to know that the path ahead, while uncertain, no longer felt quite so lonely. Chapter 7. Reluctant Gratitude. The Williams and Associates holiday party glittered with tasteful decorations and the soft glow of candlelight. Anna Maria stood near the buffet table, nursing a glass of sparkling water as she watched her colleagues laugh and dance. Her emerald green dress, the first truly beautiful thing she'd bought for herself in years, caught the light as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other, feeling oddly out of place despite 10 months at the company. Not much for parties. Daniel appeared at her side, his bow tie slightly askew after hours of celebration. Anna Maria smiled. Just taking it all in. It's been a while since I attended anything this elegant. Well, you look stunning, Daniel said kindly. And you deserve to celebrate. The Westridge campaign was brilliant. The campaign had indeed been a success, earning the company a major industry award and Anna Maria a substantial bonus. What Daniel didn't know was that the campaign now hung in the balance due to unexpected complications. Earlier that week, Anna Maria had received a disturbing email from Westridge's marketing director. A rival firm had undercut their proposal for the next phase, offering nearly identical concepts at a significantly lower price point. The coincidence was too striking to ignore. Someone had leaked her work. Actually, Daniel, could I speak with you privately? Anna Maria asked, seizing the moment. It's about Westridge. Daniel's expression turned serious as he led her to a quiet corner of the venue. What's wrong? Anna Maria explained the situation, watching Daniel's face darken with concern. This is serious, he said when she finished. If someone's leaking proprietary work, we could lose more than just Westridge. Do you have any idea who might be responsible? She hesitated. I've been reviewing who had access to my files. Besides you and me, only the creative team and... She paused. And Thomas Blackwell from the executive committee. Daniel's eyebrows rose. Thomas, that's a serious accusation, Anna. I know, and I don't have proof. But he was unusually interested in my presentation materials, and his best friend owns Apex Marketing, the firm that made the competing offer. This needs careful handling, Daniel cautioned. Thomas has powerful connections if we accuse him without solid evidence. Anna Maria understood the implied threat. Her position, her stability, everything she'd built could be jeopardized. What should we do? Let me think on it, Daniel said, patting her arm reassuringly. Try to enjoy the rest of the party. We'll tackle this on Monday. But Monday brought no solutions. Instead, when Anna Maria arrived at work, she found an email requesting her presence at an emergency meeting with the executive committee, including Thomas Blackwell. Her stomach twisted with apprehension as she read the cryptic agenda. Discussion of Westridge account irregularities. The boardroom felt cavernous, its polished table reflecting the tense expressions of the executives seated around it. Anna Maria took her assigned seat, acutely aware of Thomas Blackwell's calculating gaze from across the table. Ms. Diallo, began the committee chair, we've received concerning information about the Westridge account. It appears confidential client information was compromised. As the lead on this account, what can you tell us about this breach? The Tidusim implication was clear. They suspected her. Anna Maria felt the blood drain from her face as she realized the trap she'd walked into. Before she could respond, the boardroom door opened. Anthony Hopkins strode in, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, his expression controlled but determined. Behind him came Daniel, carrying a leather portfolio. "Forgive the interruption," Anthony said smoothly, "but I believe I have information relevant to this discussion." The committee chair frowned. "Mr. Hopkins, this is a private meeting. While we appreciate your company's partnership with Williams and Associates, this matter doesn't concern Hoptech." "Actually," Anthony countered, moving to stand behind Anna Maria's chair, "it does. My security team has been investigating a pattern of corporate espionage targeting several companies, including mine. Last night, we identified the source." He nodded to Daniel, who distributed documents from his portfolio. "These are transcripts of communications between Thomas Blackwell and James Richards at Apex Marketing, detailing the theft and sale of proprietary information from multiple clients, including Westridge." The room erupted in murmurs as executives flipped through the evidence. Thomas Blackwell's face flushed dark red. "This is preposterous," he sputtered. "Hopkins has a personal relationship with Diallo. He's clearly trying to protect her. Every document in that file has been authenticated by an independent digital forensics firm," Anthony replied coolly. "Their findings have already been shared with the police and Westridge's legal team. I simply thought you'd appreciate the courtesy of being informed before they arrive." As if on cue, the boardroom door opened again to admit several serious-looking individuals in suits, accompanied by security. What followed was a blur of activity. Thomas Blackwell was escorted from the building. Statements were taken. Apologies were made to Anna Maria for the misunderstanding. Through it all, Anthony remained at her side, a steady presence in the chaos. Only when the room had cleared did Anna Maria finally turn to him. "How did you know?" she asked quietly. "Daniel called me when you raised concerns about Thomas," Anthony explained. "Given my company's resources and my own experiences with corporate espionage, he thought I might be able to help. So once again, you swooped in to save me," Anna Maria said, her emotions a complicated tangle of gratitude and frustration. "I don't know whether to thank you or be angry that you're still interfering in my life." Anthony's expression softened. "I didn't do it to interfere, Anna. I did it because it was the right thing to do." He hesitated, then added, "And because I couldn't stand by and watch another man destroy something you've worked so hard to build." The words hung between them, laden with meaning that extended far beyond the current situation. Daniel cleared his throat, reminding them of his presence. "Anna Maria, the committee wants to see you again in an hour. They're discussing a promotion. They were impressed by how you handled yourself." When they were alone, Anna Maria studied Anthony's face, searching for hidden motives, but finding only genuine concern. "Why didn't you tell me what you were doing? Would you have accepted my help if I had?" he asked simply. She had no answer for that. "Besides," Anthony continued, "this wasn't about you and me or our past. This was about justice. You earned your position here. You built your reputation through hard work and talent. No one has the right to take that from you, not Thomas Blackwell and not me." Anna Maria felt something shift inside her at his words, a softening of the hard shell she'd built around her heart. "I suppose I should say thank you then." "You don't have to," Anthony replied. "But there is something you could do for me instead." She raised an eyebrow, instantly wary. "Lily's first birthday is next week," he reminded her. "I know you're planning a small celebration at your apartment, and I was hoping—" He paused, uncharacteristically uncertain. "I was hoping I could be there, not just for my scheduled visit, but for the whole day, to help set up, to be part of it all." The request was so unexpected, so simple, that Anna Maria found herself nodding before she'd fully considered it. All right, yes, you can be there. The smile that illuminated Anthony's face made him look younger, more like the man she had fallen in love with all those years ago. Thank you, he said softly. As he turned to leave, Anna Maria called after him. Anthony? He paused at the door, looking back at her questioningly. I am grateful, she said, the words difficult but sincere. Not just for today, but for everything you've done for Lily, for us. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely, but it was acknowledgement, a recognition of the man he was trying to become, rather than the one who had hurt her so deeply. Anthony's eyes held hers for a long moment, understanding the significance of her words. I'll see you Saturday, he said, simply, and then he was gone. Later that evening, as Anna Maria picked up Lily from daycare, her phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. Promotion approved. Senior Marketing Director, effective immediately. You earned this, Anna, no one else. With Lily balanced on her hip, Anna Maria stared at the message, a complex mix of emotions washing over her. Pride in her achievement, gratitude for Anthony's intervention, and something else, something she wasn't quite ready to name, a warmth that spread through her chest when she thought of Anthony standing behind her chair, a silent pillar of support. Mama happy? Lily asked, patting Anna Maria's cheek with a small hand. The toddler's vocabulary was expanding daily, her perceptiveness sometimes startling. Yes, baby girl, Anna Maria replied, kissing her daughter's forehead. Mama's happy. It wasn't a lie, she realized with some surprise. Despite the day's drama, despite the complicated feelings Anthony's presence always evoked, she was happy. Her career was thriving. Her daughter was healthy and loved. And perhaps most surprisingly, the hatred and bitterness that had sustained her for so long was gradually giving way to something else. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a tentative peace. As she drove home, Anna Maria found her thoughts drifting to Lily's upcoming birthday. She had planned a small gathering, just herself, Lily, and Mrs. Patel. Now Anthony would join them, blurring the careful boundaries she had established. Was she ready for that? Ready to see Anthony, not just as Lily's father during scheduled visits, but as part of their celebration, part of their family circle? One day at a time, she murmured to herself as she parked outside their apartment building, a newer, safer complex they had moved to after her first promotion. Just one day at a time. That night, after Lily was asleep, Anna Maria found herself staring at old photographs, pictures she had hidden away for years because they hurt too much to look at. Wedding photos, honeymoon memories, moments from a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. Anthony looked so young in these images, his smile uninhibited, his eyes filled with love as he gazed at her. She barely recognized herself. The carefree young woman with dreams untouched by betrayal and hardship. They couldn't go back to that. Too much had happened. Too many scars had formed. But as Anna Maria carefully returned the photos to their box, she allowed herself to wonder, just briefly, if there might be a way forward, not to what they had been, but to something new. Something built on harder truths and deeper understanding. It was a dangerous thought, one she wasn't ready to fully embrace. But for the first time in 7 years, she didn't immediately push it away. Chapter 8. Breaking Walls. Lily's first birthday dawned bright and clear, sunlight streaming through the curtains Anna Maria had sewn herself for the apartment's bay window. She'd been up since 5, preparing food and decorating the small living space with colorful banners and balloons. Though the guest list remained intimate, she wanted everything to be perfect for Lily's milestone. At precisely 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Anna Maria smoothed her sundress, took a deep breath, and opened the door to find Anthony standing there, his arms laden with packages wrapped in shimmering paper. I know it's too much, he said before she could comment, a sheepish smile playing at his lips. I couldn't help myself. Anna Maria shook her head, but there was no real annoyance in her expression. Come in. Lily's still napping, but she should be up soon. Anthony entered, taking in the decorations with appreciative eyes. You've done an amazing job. The place looks wonderful. It's not much, Anna Maria replied, suddenly self-conscious about their modest apartment compared to what she imagined was Anthony's luxurious home. It's perfect, he countered sincerely. Warm, welcoming, a real home. Something in his tone made Anna Maria look at him more closely. Behind the polished exterior, she glimpsed a wistfulness that surprised her. Did Anthony Hopkins, CEO and eligible, bachelor, envy her small apartment with its second-hand furniture and homemade curtains? I could use some help hanging the piñata, she said, changing the subject, if you're offering your services for the day. At your disposal, Anthony replied, setting down his gifts and removing his jacket. They worked together with unexpected ease, falling into a rhythm that felt both foreign and familiar. Anthony hung decorations while Anna Maria finished preparing food. They moved around each other in the small kitchen, their bodies remembering an old dance from years before. Remember that dinner party we tried to host in our first apartment? Anthony asked as he reached past her for tape. When the ovens stopped working, halfway through cooking the roast, Anna Maria couldn't help but smile at the memory. We ended up ordering pizza and serving it on our wedding china. Best dinner party we ever gave, Anthony said, his eyes crinkling with genuine amusement. Everyone still talked about it years. Later, for a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, the shared memory creating a bridge across the years of separation. Then Lily's babbling came through the baby monitor, breaking the spell. I'll get her, Anna Maria said quickly, needing a moment to compose herself. In the nursery, Anna Maria lifted her daughter from the crib, breathing in her sweet baby scent. Happy birthday, little one, she whispered, pressing a kiss to Lily's forehead. Are you ready for your special day? Lily wiggled excitedly in her arms. Da-da, she questioned, her limited vocabulary still managing to express exactly what she wanted to know. Yes, Daddy's here, Anna Maria confirmed, the word still feeling strange on her tongue. Though she had accepted Anthony as Lily's father, hearing herself acknowledge it aloud remained an adjustment. When they entered the living room, Lily squealed with delight at the sight of Anthony, straining toward him with outstretched arms. Anna Maria transferred her daughter to him, watching as Anthony's face transformed with pure joy. Happy birthday, princess, he murmured, swinging Lily gently in the air. You're getting so big. Mrs. Patel arrived shortly after, bearing homemade samosas and a hand-knitted sweater for Lily. The elderly woman had become something of a surrogate grandmother, her wry humor and practical wisdom a cornerstone of Anna Maria's support system. So this is the famous Anthony, Mrs. Patel said, examining him with undisguised curiosity. You're right, Anna Maria. The child has his chin. Anna Maria felt heat rise to her cheeks. Mrs. Patel, what? It's true, the older woman said with a shrug. And his eyes, poor thing. Anthony laughed, surprising Anna Maria. Most men of his status would have been offended by Mrs. Patel's forthrightness, but he seemed genuinely amused. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Patel. Anna Maria speaks highly of you. As she should, Mrs. Patel replied with a sniff. I kept her fed when she first moved in, skinny as a rail and proud as a queen. She fixed Anthony with a penetrating stare. Where were you then, The blunt question landed like a physical blow. Anna Maria watched Anthony's smile fade, replaced by genuine regret, making the biggest mistake of my life, he answered honestly. Mrs. Patel studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. Good answer. Now who's going to help me bring in the cake from my car? The small birthday celebration progressed with surprising warmth. They sang to Lily, who stared in wonder at her single candle before Anna Maria helped her blow it out. They laughed as Lily smashed cake onto her face with enthusiastic abandon. They watched her explore her presents with serious concentration, often more interested in the wrapping paper than the gifts themselves. Through it all, Anna Maria found herself repeatedly glancing at Anthony, seeing her daughter through his eyes. Every milestone he had missed, every first he would never experience. Yet instead of the resentment she expected to feel, she found herself sharing his joy in this moment, this day they could both claim. As the afternoon progressed, Lily began to fade, the excitement taking its toll. After tucking her in for a nap, Anna Maria returned to find Anthony and Mrs. Patel deep in conversation at the kitchen table. Didn't know what she went through, Mrs. Patel was saying quietly. That second husband was a monster. The bruises she tried to hide when she first came here. She shook her head grimly. Anna Maria cleared her throat and both heads turned toward her. Mrs. Patel, at least, had the grace to look slightly abashed. I should be going, the older woman announced, gathering her purse. My programs start in an hour. She patted Anna Maria's cheek as she passed. He seems sincere, she whispered, not quite quietly enough. But make him work for it, girl. After Mrs. Patel's departure, a weighted silence fell between them. Anthony stood by the window, his back to Anna Maria, shoulders tense with unspoken words. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Anna Maria finally said, gathering dirty plates. Anthony turned, his expression raw with emotion. Don't apologize. I'm the one who should be sorry. I am sorry, Anna. So deeply sorry for what you endured because of my failure to trust you. The sincerity in his voice pierced through Anna Maria's carefully constructed defenses. It wasn't entirely your fault, she admitted, the words difficult but necessary. Your mother orchestrated everything perfectly. She knew exactly how to manipulate you, how to prey on your insecurities. That doesn't excuse my actions, Anthony insisted. I should have trusted you. I should have at least given you the chance to defend yourself. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Anna Maria's heart ache. When I think about what happened to you afterward, the abuse, the poverty, everything you and Lily suffered while I lived in comfort. Stop, Anna Maria interrupted, unable to bear the self-flagellation in his voice. What's done is done, Anthony. We can't change the past. No, he agreed softly. But I can try to make the present better, and the future. The implications of his words hung between them, heavy with possibility. Anna Maria busied herself with cleaning up, needing the distraction of physical activity to process her conflicted emotions. Let me help, Anthony offered, moving to her side at the sink. They worked in silence, washing and drying the dishes with methodical care. Their hands occasionally brushed, each touch sending an unwelcome current of awareness through Anna Maria. I found the pictures, Anthony said suddenly. The ones in your bedroom, our wedding album. Anna Maria froze, mortified. She had forgotten to put the photos away after looking at them the previous week. I was just reminiscing, she explained awkwardly. Do you ever wonder? Anthony began, then stopped himself. Never mind, I shouldn't ask. Wonder what? Anna. Maria couldn't help but prompt. Anthony set down the dish towel, turning to face her fully. Do you ever wonder who we might have been if my mother hadn't interfered? What our life might have looked like? The question hit Anna Maria with unexpected force. Of course she had wondered. In her darkest moments, in her most private thoughts, she had tortured herself with visions of the life they might have shared, the children they might have raised. Together, the love that might have deepened with time, instead of shattering under the weight of betrayal. Sometimes, she admitted quietly. But it doesn't change anything, doesn't it? Anthony asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna, I know I have no right to ask this, But is there any chance at all, that you could ever forgive me? Not to go back to what we were, but to create something new, something better, built on everything we've learned, everything we've become. Anna Maria stared at him, heart pounding in her chest. The question she had been dreading, the possibility she had refused to acknowledge even to herself. I don't know, she answered honestly. There's so much history between us, Anthony, so much pain. I know, he acknowledged, and I'm not asking for an answer today. I just want you to know that I'm here, not just for Lily, but for you too, if you'll have me, in whatever capacity you're comfortable with. Before Anna Maria could respond, a cry came through the baby monitor. Lily was awake, saving her mother from having to formulate an answer she wasn't ready to give. The moment broken, they returned to the practical matters of parenting, changing Lily, preparing her afternoon snack, discussing her development and needs. But something had shifted between them. A door cracked open that Anna Maria had long believed permanently sealed. As the day drew to a close, Anthony reluctantly prepared to leave. At the door, he turned to Anna Maria, Lily asleep against his shoulder. "Thank you for today," he said softly, "for letting me be part of it." Anna Maria gently took Lily from his arms, the sleeping child transferring from father to mother without waking. "She loves you," Anna Maria said simply. "That matters to me." Anthony nodded, understanding what she wasn't saying, that his relationship with Lily had become important to Anna Maria, that she valued his presence in their daughter's life. "Anna," he said hesitantly, "I was wondering if you'd consider having dinner with me sometime. Not as co-parents, but as whatever we are now. We could talk, really talk." The invitation hung between them, weighted with significance, a crossroads, a choice that could alter the course of all their lives. "I'll think about it," Anna Maria replied, neither accepting nor refusing. Anthony's smile was gentle, understanding. "That's all I ask." He bent to kiss Lily's forehead, then straightened, his eyes meeting Anna Maria's with quiet intensity. "Good night, Anna." After he left, Anna Maria stood in the center of her living room, surrounded by the remnants of the birthday celebration. Deflating balloons, scattered wrapping paper, the lingering scent of birthday cake. Her arms tightened around her sleeping daughter as she tried to make sense of the emotions swirling within her. Could she forgive Anthony? Could she risk her heart again with the man who had once shattered it so completely? And even if she could, would forgiveness mean reconciliation, or simply peace? She had no answers, only questions that whispered through her mind as she carefully laid Lily in her crib. But as she closed her daughter's bedroom door, Anna Maria realized one truth she could no longer deny. The walls she had built around her heart were beginning to crumble, brick by careful brick, revealing a capacity for hope she had thought long extinguished. Whether that hope would lead to healing or to heartbreak remained to be seen, but for the first time in 7 years, Anna Maria found herself willing to consider the possibility of a future that included Anthony Hopkins, not just as Lily's father, but as something more. Chapter 9. The Revelation. The restaurant Anthony had chosen was intimate without being overtly romantic. Soft lighting, well-spaced tables, and a menu that spoke of careful consideration rather than ostentatious wealth. Anna Maria smoothed her dress as the maitre d' led her to a corner table where Anthony already waited. He stood as she approached, his eyes warming with appreciation. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "Thank you," she replied, accepting his compliment with a small smile. After 3 weeks of consideration, she had finally agreed to dinner. Just dinner, she'd emphasized when accepting his invitation. Now, sitting across from him in public for the first time in 7 years, she felt an unexpected flutter of nerves. "How's Lily?" Anthony asked as the waiter poured water. thoroughly enjoying her new role as Mrs. Patel's assistant baker, Anna Maria replied, grateful for the easy topic. She spent the afternoon helping make cookies, which mostly involved eating raw dough when Mrs. Patel wasn't looking. Anthony laughed, the sound warm and genuine. She's getting so independent. Every week I see her, she's doing something new. The conversation flowed with surprising ease throughout the appetizers and main course. They discussed Lily's development, Inna Maria's recent promotion, Anthony's latest business ventures, carefully neutral topics, safely removed from the more personal questions that hovered unspoken between them. It wasn't until dessert arrived that Anthony finally broached more delicate territory. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his jacket pocket to produce a small velvet box. Anna Maria tensed immediately. "Anthony, it's not what you think," he assured her quickly, sliding the box across the table. "Please just open it." With hesitant fingers, Anna Maria lifted the lid. Inside lay not jewelry, as she had feared, but a small golden key. She looked up questioningly. "It's to a safe deposit box," Anthony explained. "I've had it for years, waiting for the right moment." He took a deep breath. "The box contains everything I saved from our marriage. Letters you wrote me, photographs, keepsakes, things I couldn't bring myself to destroy even when I believed the worst about you." Anna Maria stared at the key, emotions churning. "Why give this to me now?" "Because you deserve to know the whole truth," Anthony replied, his expression solemn. "About how much you meant to me, even when I thought you had betrayed me. About how I never truly stopped loving you, even when I tried to hate you." The rawness of his admission hung in the air between them. Anna Maria slipped the key into her purse, unsure how to respond. "There's something else I need to tell you," Anthony continued, his voice growing more serious. "Something I should have told you months ago, but I was afraid it would seem like manipulation." Anna Maria steeled herself. "What is it?" "It's about my mother," Anthony said, his expression darkening. "She's been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors give her 6 months at most." The news landed with unexpected impact. Despite everything Eleanor Hopkins had done, Anna Maria felt a flicker of sympathy for the woman facing her mortality. "I'm sorry," she said, and meant it. "She's been asking to see Lily," Anthony continued carefully. "And you." Anna Maria's sympathy evaporated instantly. "Absolutely not. That woman destroyed our marriage, Anthony. She manipulated you into abandoning me. She's the reason I ended up with a man who—" She stopped abruptly, the memories still too painful to articulate fully. "I know," Anthony acknowledged, his expression pained. "And I wouldn't even consider it except—" He hesitated. "She claims there's more to the story, things I don't know, things she needs to confess before she dies." Anna Maria laughed bitterly. "More manipulation, even from her deathbed." "Probably," Anthony agreed, surprising her. "But what if there's something we should know, some truth that might help us make sense of everything that happened?" "Nothing could justify what she did," Anna Maria insisted. "I agree. But understanding isn't the same as justification." Anthony reached across the table, not quite touching her hand. "I'm not asking you to forgive her, Anna. I'm asking you to consider hearing what she has to say for your own closure, if nothing else." Anna Maria stared at him, conflicted. "I'll think about it," she finally said. The same response she'd given to his dinner invitation weeks before. Anthony nodded, accepting her answer without pressure. They finished their desserts in thoughtful silence, the mood altered but not broken by the difficult conversation. Outside the restaurant, Anthony walked her to her car. The night air was cool, stars visible above the city lights. They paused. Beside her vehicle, neither quite ready to end the evening. "Thank you for dinner," Anna Maria said quietly. "It was nice." It was, Anthony agreed. He studied her face in the gentle glow of the street lamp. Would it be too much to hope we might do it again sometime? Anna Maria considered his question, the weight of their shared history balanced against the tentative connection of the present moment. Not too much, she answered honestly. Something like hope flickered in Anthony's eyes. He stepped closer, his intention clear. Anna Maria knew she should step back, maintain the careful distance she had established. Instead, she remained motionless as he slowly, giving her every chance to retreat, leaned forward and pressed his lips to her cheek. "Good night, Anna," he murmured, his breath warm against her skin. The drive home was a blur of conflicting emotions. Anna Maria's mind replayed moments from the evening. The easy conversation, the meaningful glances, the gentle kiss that had awakened dormant feelings she'd thought long extinguished. Parallel to these thoughts ran a current of fear, of self-preservation, of the hard-won wisdom that trusted nothing that came too easily. Mrs. Patel was dozing on the couch when Anna Maria entered the apartment. She startled awake, blinking owlishly. "You're home early," the elderly woman observed. "Date didn't go well." "It wasn't a date," Anna Maria corrected automatically, "and it went fine." Mrs. Patel snorted in disbelief as she gathered her things. "That man still loves you, you know. It's written all over his face when he looks at you." "It's not that simple," Anna Maria sighed, sinking onto the couch. "Love never is," Mrs. Patel agreed. "But sometimes we make it more complicated than it needs to be." She patted Anna Maria's hand. "Life is too short for grudges, child. Believe me, I know." After Mrs. Patel left, Anna Maria checked on Lily, fast asleep with her stuffed elephant clutched in one arm. The sight of her daughter, peaceful and secure, brought a surge of protectiveness. Any decision Anna Maria made would affect Lily too. Her relationship with her father, her understanding of forgiveness and justice, her belief in the possibility of redemption. The key Anthony had given her seemed to burn in her purse. Should she open that box of memories, face the evidence of a love she had tried so hard to forget? And what of his mother's request? Could she bring herself to face the woman who had orchestrated so much suffering? Anna Maria's phone buzzed with a text message. "Thank you for tonight. Whatever happens next, know that these past months with you and Lily have been the greatest gift of my life." The simple sincerity of his words brought unexpected tears to her eyes. 7 years ago, Anthony had made a terrible mistake. He had trusted the wrong person, believed lies instead of the woman he'd vowed to love. But in the months since their reunion, he had proven himself changed, patient, respectful, determined to make amends without expectation of forgiveness. Was that enough? Could it ever be enough to heal the wounds of the past? Anna Maria had no answers as she prepared for bed, her mind heavy with questions. But as she drifted towards sleep, one thought rose above the others. Tomorrow she would visit that safe deposit box. Whatever it contained, whatever truths it revealed, she would face them. For Lily, for herself, and perhaps for the man who was fighting so hard to prove himself worthy of a second chance. The next morning dawned grey and drizzling, mirroring Anna Maria's uncertain mood. After dropping Lily at daycare, she drove to the bank Anthony had specified, the small golden key clutched tightly in her hand. The safe deposit room was quiet, the attendant discreet as he unlocked the outer box and left her alone with its contents. Anna Maria stared at the metal container for a long moment before finally lifting the lid. Inside lay a carefully preserved collection of memories. Letters she had written to Anthony during their courtship, some penned while they were still in college. Photographs chronicling their relationship from first date to wedding day. Ticket stubs from concerts they'd attended, menus from favorite restaurants, hotel keys from their honeymoon. With trembling fingers, Anna Maria lifted a small velvet pouch from the box. Inside she found her original engagement ring, the modest diamond Anthony had proposed with before his business success, the ring she had left behind when she fled their home in tears after the divorce. Beneath everything else lay a leather-bound journal. Opening it, Anna Maria recognized Anthony's handwriting, dates marked in the upper corners of each entry. The first began the day after their divorce was finalized. The last was dated just weeks before their chance encounter in the rain. Anna Maria began to read, losing track of time as Anthony's private thoughts unfolded before her. His initial anger and disbelief, his gradual doubts about what had happened, his growing suspicion of his mother's role in their separation, his unsuccessful attempts to find Anna Maria after she disappeared from their social circle, his regret, his loneliness, his enduring love despite believing she had betrayed him. The final entry struck her with particular force. I dreamed of Anna last night. Not the betrayal my mother convinced me of, but the truth of her laughter, her kindness, her unwavering loyalty. I've been a fool. Whether the evidence was real or not, I should have trusted the woman I knew, not the suspicions others planted. If I ever find her again, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends, expecting nothing in return. Some mistakes can never be fully repaired, but the attempt must still be made. The truth must still be honored, however belatedly. Tears streamed down Anna Maria's cheeks as she closed the journal. Anthony had been on a journey toward the truth long before finding her again. His redemption hadn't begun with their chance encounter. It had started years before in the privacy of his own conscience, as she carefully returned everything to the box, save the journal which she placed in her purse. Anna Maria came to a decision. She would meet with Eleanor Hopkins, not for the dying woman's sake, but for her own, to face the architect of her suffering, to hear whatever truths remained unspoken, to close this chapter of her life with clear eyes and an open heart. And perhaps in doing so to open the possibility of writing a new chapter altogether. That evening, as Lily played on the living room floor, Anna Maria called Anthony. "I'll meet with your mother," she said without preamble when he answered. "Not for her, but for me. For us." The significance of that final word, us, hung in the silence between them. Neither acknowledged it directly, but both felt its weight, its tentative promise. "Thank you," Anthony replied simply. "I'll make the arrangements." As she ended the call, Anna Maria felt a strange sense of peace settle over her. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, its own revelations. But for tonight, she allowed herself to acknowledge a truth she had been fighting for months. She was no longer merely tolerating Anthony's presence in their lives. She was beginning to welcome it, to find comfort in his steadfast commitment, to becoming the man he should have been 7 years ago. Whether that realization would lead to reconciliation or merely to a more peaceful co-parenting relationship remained to be seen. But as she watched Lily babbling happily to her stuffed elephant, the one Anthony had given her on her birthday, Anna Maria allowed herself, for the first time in 7 years, to truly consider the possibility of forgiveness, not as a distant ideal, but as a tangible approaching reality. Chapter 10. Renewed Vows. Eleanor Hopkins's estate stood like a fortress on the outskirts of the city, its manicured grounds and imposing facade a testament to old money and careful preservation of status. Anna Maria gripped the steering wheel tightly as she followed Anthony's car through the ornate gates, Lily secured in her car seat, oblivious to the significance of this visit. "Are you sure about this?" Anthony asked as he helped her unbuckle. "Lily." His concern was evident in the furrow of his brow, the tension in his shoulders. "No," Anna Maria admitted honestly, "but I need to do it anyway." They walked side by side up the grand pathway, Lily balanced on Anna Maria's hip. The little girl gazed wide-eyed at the fountain in the center of the circular drive, pointing excitedly at the water dancing in the afternoon sunlight. Pretty mama, she exclaimed. Yes, baby girl, Anna Maria agreed, pressing a kiss to her daughter's curls. Very pretty. The housekeeper who answered the door led them through a maze of corridors to a sunroom at the back of the house. The space was filled with light, plants flourishing in the warmth, comfortable furniture arranged to face the extensive gardens beyond the windows. And there, reclining on a chaise lounge, was Eleanor Hopkins. Anna Maria almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the formidable matriarch whose disapproval had once made her tremble. In her place sat a diminished figure, thin to the point of frailty, her once perfect coiffure replaced by wispy grey hair that revealed glimpses of scalp. Only her eyes retained their sharp intelligence, fixing on Anna Maria with an intensity that made her instinctively tighten her grip on Lily. "You came," Eleanor said, her voice weaker than Anna Maria remembered, but still carrying that note of authority. "I wasn't sure you would." "Neither was I," Anna Maria replied honestly. Anthony placed a supportive hand at the small of her back, a touch so natural she didn't think to pull away. "Mother, this is your granddaughter Lily." Eleanor's gaze shifted to the child, something complicated passing across her features. Recognition, regret, perhaps even a flicker of tenderness. "She has the Hopkins eyes," she observed quietly, "and your mother's smile, Anna Maria." The personal observation, delivered without condescension, was so unexpected that Anna Maria found herself momentarily speechless. "May I hold her?" Eleanor asked, the request tentative, almost humble. Anna Maria hesitated, every protective instinct screaming caution. But as she studied the dying woman before her, she recognized something beyond the frailty of terminal illness, a vulnerability that seemed to stem from somewhere deeper than physical decline. After a long moment, she moved forward, settling Lily carefully on the edge of the chaise. "This is your grandmother, Lily," she said softly, staying close. Lily regarded Eleanor solemnly for a moment before breaking into a wide smile. "Gamma?" she asked, the word newly added to her growing vocabulary, thanks to Mrs. Patel's self-appointed grandmother status. "Yes," Eleanor whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. "Grandmother!" With trembling fingers she touched Lily's cheek. "You're a beautiful child, perfect." Anthony pulled chairs close for himself and Anna Maria, the three adults forming a triangle with Lily at its center. For several minutes they sat in strange, almost peaceful silence, watching Lily explore her new surroundings with curious fingers. Finally, Eleanor spoke. "I owe you both an explanation," she began, her voice strengthening with resolve. "Not an excuse. There can be no excuse for what I did. But perhaps context." Anna Maria nodded, bracing herself for whatever was to come. "When Anthony first brought you home, Anna Maria, I saw myself," Eleanor said, surprising them both. "A young woman from humble beginnings, outspoken, ambitious, determined to make her mark despite the circumstances of her birth." She paused, gathering strength. "I married into the Hopkins family, much as you did. Young, idealistic, certain that love would conquer the differences between us. I was wrong." Anthony leaned forward, confusion evident in his expression. "Mother, what are you saying? Dad adored you." A bitter smile touched Eleanor's lips. "In public, yes. But your father married beneath his social status, and he never let me forget it. For 40 years I endured subtle humiliations, constant reminders that I wasn't quite good enough, wasn't quite acceptable." Her gaze returned to Anna Maria. "When I saw you with my son, I recognized the pattern repeating itself. I convinced myself I was protecting you both from the inevitable heartbreak when the novelty wore off and reality set in. So you fabricated evidence of affairs that never happened," Anna Maria said, her voice steady despite the emotions churning within her. "You manipulated your own son. You destroyed our marriage. Yes, Eleanor acknowledged simply. What began as misguided protection twisted into something uglier when I saw how happy you were despite the obstacles. You had what I never achieved: true partnership, mutual respect, love uncomplicated by social hierarchies. I couldn't bear it. She closed her eyes briefly. And yes, there was prejudice too, deeply ingrained biases I've only recently begun to acknowledge. The admission hung in the air, its honesty both brutal and somehow cleansing. Anna Maria studied the woman before her, not a monster, but a human being warped by her own suffering, perpetuating cycles of pain she herself had endured. "When did you realize what you'd done?" Anthony asked, his voice rough with emotion. "Truly realize?" Eleanor considered the question. "Perhaps when you cut me out of your life after discovering my deception, or perhaps only recently facing my own mortality. The certainty of death has a way of clarifying one's perspective." She turned to Anna Maria, her expression stripped of pretense. "I don't expect your forgiveness, my dear. What I did to both of you, is unforgivable. But I needed you to understand that it was never about you. Not really. It was about my own brokenness, my own failures." Lily, growing restless, reached for Anna Maria, who gathered her daughter into her arms. The weight of the child, solid and real, anchored her amid the turbulent emotions of the moment. "I have something for her," Eleanor said, gesturing to a small jewelry box on the table beside her. "And for you, if you'll accept it." Anthony retrieved the box, opening it before passing it to Anna Maria. Inside lay an antique locket on a delicate gold chain, its surface etched with intricate patterns. "It belonged to Anthony's grandmother," Eleanor explained. "A woman of remarkable character and kindness, everything I aspired to be and fell short of. I'd like Lily to have it, to perhaps begin a new tradition untainted by my failures." Anna Maria examined the locket, feeling its weight both physical and symbolic. After a moment's consideration, she nodded. "Thank you. I'll keep it for her until she's older." Eleanor's relief was palpable. "And this," she continued, indicating a thick envelope beside the jewelry box, "a trust fund for Lily's education, and—" She hesitated, glancing at Anthony. "The deed to the cottage in Vermont, the one where you spent your honeymoon. I've transferred ownership to both your names." Anna Maria felt Anthony tense beside her, his surprise mirroring her own. "Mother, we never discussed—" "I know," Eleanor interrupted. "It's not an attempt to buy forgiveness, Anthony. It's an acknowledgement that I stole something precious from you both. I cannot restore what was lost, but perhaps I can offer a foundation for whatever you choose to build now, together or apart." The gravity of the moment settled over them, not reconciliation precisely, but a kind of reckoning. The truth laid bare, the damage acknowledged, the fractured relationships exposed in all their complexity. "I should take Lily outside for a bit," Anthony said after a moment, recognizing that Anna Maria and his mother needed privacy for what remained to be said. "There's a garden swing she might enjoy." As he left with Lily, Anna Maria found herself alone with the woman who had orchestrated the greatest suffering of her life. The silence between them stretched, neither easy nor entirely hostile. "He never stopped loving you," Eleanor finally said. "Even when he believed the worst, there was always a part of him that couldn't fully accept it. Perhaps that's why he never remarried, despite my attempts to introduce suitable candidates." Anna Maria chose her words carefully. "Love isn't always enough, Mrs. Hopkins. Trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild, but not impossible," Eleanor observed, studying Anna Maria's face. "I see the way you look at him now, when you think no one notices. There's still something there, isn't there?" Rather than answer directly, Anna Maria asked a question of her own. "Why tell us this now? Why not take these secrets to your grave?" Eleanor's smile was sad, tinged with genuine regret. "Because some burdens are too heavy to carry into the next world, my dear. And because even someone like me deserves the chance to die with one fewer sin on her conscience. She reached for Anna Maria's hand, her grip surprisingly strong. Don't let my mistakes define your future. If there's love still between you, don't waste it out of pride or fear. Life is too short and true connection too rare. Coming from anyone else, the advice might have seemed trite. From Eleanor Hopkins, it carried the weight of hard-won wisdom, of regrets crystallized in the face of approaching death. When Anthony returned with a sleepy Lily, Anna Maria stood, suddenly certain they had heard everything they needed to hear. "We should go," she said gently. "Lily needs her nap." Eleanor nodded, resignation in her expression. "Of course. Thank you, both of you, for coming, for allowing me to meet my granddaughter, however briefly." At the door, Anna Maria paused, turning back to the woman who had once been her greatest enemy. "I can't forgive you," she said honestly. "Not yet. Perhaps not ever completely. But I understand. Better now. And I don't hate you anymore. That's something, I think." The tears that filled Eleanor's eyes suggested it was indeed something, perhaps more than she had dared to hope for. The drive back to the city passed in contemplative silence, broken only by Lily's occasional sleepy murmurings from the back seat. Anna Maria followed Anthony to her apartment, the weight of Eleanor's revelations and gifts heavy on both their minds. As they carried the sleeping toddler inside, moving in the synchronized dance of parents who have learned to anticipate each other's movements, Anna Maria felt the familiar walls of her defenses wavering. When Anthony gently laid Lily in her crib, brushing a curl from her forehead with such tenderness, something shifted irrevocably within Anna Maria's heart. "Stay for dinner," she said impulsively as they moved to the living room. "Nothing fancy, just pasta. But I think we should talk." Anthony's surprise gave way to careful hope. "I'd like that." They worked together in the small kitchen, the domesticity of the scene both strange and comforting. Anna Maria chopped vegetables while Anthony prepared the sauce, their movements around each other easy, familiar, despite the years apart. "The cottage in Vermont," Anna Maria said as they sat down to eat. "Do you remember it?" Anthony's smile was soft with nostalgia. Every detail, the creaky step on the porch, the view of the lake at sunrise, the fireplace that smoked unless you opened the flue just right. "We were so happy there," Anna Maria murmured, the memory bittersweet. "We were," Anthony agreed. After a pause, he added, "What my mother did today, giving us the deed, what do you think it means?" Anna Maria considered the question. "I think it was her version of atonement, a recognition that she destroyed something that might have been beautiful, and the fact that she put it in both our names." Anthony pressed gently. "What do you make of that?" The question hung between them, laden with possibilities neither had dared voice until now. "I think," Anna Maria said slowly, "she was acknowledging that our story might not be finished yet." Anthony set down his fork, his gaze meeting hers across the small table. "Is it finished?" Anna Maria took a deep breath, finally putting into words the truth she had been gradually accepting over the past months. "I've been so afraid, Anthony, afraid to trust again, afraid to hope, afraid to believe that what happened between us could ever be truly healed." "And now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Now I'm still afraid," she admitted, "but I'm beginning to think that some risks are worth taking." She reached across the table, tentatively placing her hand over his. "Not to go back to what we were. We're different people now, shaped by everything we've endured, but perhaps to build something new, something stronger." The hope that blazed in Anthony's eyes was tempered with caution, with respect for the journey still ahead of them. "I want that more than anything, Anna. But only if you're truly ready. I can wait as long as you need, I think," Anna Maria said thoughtfully. We've both waited long enough. Later that evening, after dinner had been cleared and conversations had wound through past hurts and future possibilities, they stood together at Lily's crib, watching their daughter sleep peacefully, unaware of the momentous shifts taking place in her parents' hearts. "She's the best of both of us," Anthony whispered. "She is," Anna Maria agreed, "and she deserves parents who are whole, whether together or apart." Anthony turned to her, his expression serious. "I want to be together, Anna, a real family. But more than that, I want you to be happy with or without me." The sincerity in his voice, the selflessness of his declaration, touched something deep within Anna Maria. 7 years ago, Anthony had chosen to believe the worst about her without giving her the chance to defend herself. Today, he stood before her a changed man, humbled by his mistakes, steadfast in his love, willing to accept whatever future she deemed possible. "I think," Anna Maria said softly, "I might be happier with you than without you. I'd like to find out anyway." The kiss they shared was gentle, tentative, a beginning rather than a reclaiming. In it were echoes of their past love, but also promises of something new, a love tempered by suffering, strengthened by forgiveness, wiser for the journey each had traveled to find their way back to each other. 2 years later, on a crisp autumn day much like the one when they had first reconnected, Anna Maria stood in the doorway of the Vermont cottage, watching Anthony chase a laughing Lily around the yard, golden leaves swirling around them in the breeze. The simple gold band on her finger caught the sunlight, still new enough to draw her gaze in moments of quiet reflection. Their second wedding had been nothing like their first. No lavish reception, no society guests, no Eleanor Hopkins orchestrating every detail, just a small gathering of true friends in this very garden, with Mrs. Patel beaming proudly and Lily serving as both flower girl and ring-bearer, her infectious joy setting the tone for the day. Eleanor had not lived to see it, having passed peacefully 6 months after their visit. But in her final days, she had known that her son and his family were finding their way toward healing, and perhaps that knowledge had brought her some measure of peace. "Mama, watch me," Lily called, now 3 years old and full of boundless energy. Anna Maria smiled as her daughter twirled in circles, arms outstretched to catch falling leaves, Anthony ensuring she didn't spin herself right into the lake. The path to this moment had not been easy. There had been difficult conversations, moments of doubt, old wounds reopened in the process of true healing. Trust had been rebuilt slowly, deliberately, both of them conscious of the fragility of what they were creating. But standing here now, watching her husband and daughter laughing together in the golden light, Anna Maria knew with absolute certainty that the journey had been worth every painful step. Their love story had not followed the course they had once imagined. It had been interrupted, diverted, nearly destroyed by forces both external and internal. Yet somehow, against all odds, they had found their way back to each other, not as the young, naive couple they had once been, but as adults who had faced their worst fears and emerged stronger, wiser, more capable of the deep and abiding love they now shared. "Anna," Anthony called, jogging toward her with Lily perched on his shoulders. "Come join us. The leaves are perfect for jumping in." As she stepped out to meet them, Anna Maria reflected on the strange, winding path that had led them here. From love to betrayal to redemption, from strangers to co-parents to partners once more. It had not been the life she had planned, but standing in the warm circle of her family's embrace, leaves drifting around them like confetti, she wouldn't have changed a single step of the journey that had brought them home.